Well, you expect the commissioner to look at the game with rose-colored glasses, but Stephen A. Smith, do you agree this is the golden age of baseball right now?
Absolutely not. I don't see it that way. According to the reports, I mean, you read some of the reports, they'll tell you that baseball, the attendance records are off the charts and things of that nature, and it's hard to surmise what truth is and what isn't. All I could go by is what the mind's eye, what the mind's eye is seeing. I look at the National Football League, despite some reports about potential lagging popularity. Obviously, it's America's sport right now, not America's national pastime. You look at basketball, it has successfully globalized its brand. And I look at it from that standpoint, and I say to myself, you know what? That stands for something to me. That means something. When I look at Major League Baseball, I definitely think that they've done a good job, and I think that when people look at, the paucity of African Americans involved in the sport, I don't think that's Major League Baseball's force. I think they do an outstanding job with their RBI program, reviving baseball in the inner city, and I think obviously they tried their best. But baseball is relatively slow. It's a long watch. People are preoccupied with doing other things. On far too many occasions, I'm watching the sport on television, Skip, and I just see too many empty seats. I just do. And so for me, it's hard for me to believe that baseball is thriving as much as they say it is when you're watching the games on TV and there are chunks and chunks of a stadium where all you see are empty seats. It's just too long of a watch or what have you. I don't think they're doing a bad job. I think Bud Selig is doing a good job considering the circumstances, some of the changes he's tried to implement to garner interest in the sport. But I still believe they have a ways to go. That's just my opinion.
Stephen A., I know we're being unscientific here, but just your gut feeling. After the interest in baseball clearly through the last 10 years fell in the African-American community, has it risen at all? I think we have, what do we count this morning, 10 or 11 black all-stars. You got Andrew McCutchen as the NL MVP right now, but hasn't really taken off as a transcendent star nationally.
Well, I don't see it, but let me say this. Just because you don't have African Americans involved don't mean that you don't have black folks involved. There are black folks from other part of this world, particularly the Dominican Republic and other places that are, directly involved in the sport.
Right.
So I would say that, I can't fault baseball for that. They need to pay attention to what's transpiring in America, but they do have those of African descent from other countries coming to play sport, to play Major League Baseball in America.
Definitely. Look, I can only speak for myself here. Stephen A., when I was growing up, the All-Star game was equivalent to the World Series to me. It was a special sort of Christmas Eve kind of night for me as a young sports fan. And baseball was clearly, in my childhood, the national pastime. The NFL is clearly the national pastime now. And even though baseball is thriving in local and regional markets with contending teams, and it was long overdue for baseball to increase its wild cards to bring more interest into more markets, which they have now done. But big picture, nationally, I don't see the transcendent stars that we had when I was growing up, the Aaron, the Willie Mays, the Roberto Clementes. It doesn't have that kind of NBA, NFL star power, even though the game itself now, this game tonight, has more players under the age of 26 than we've had in the last 50 years. We have two 19-year-olds in this game, and Bryce Harper and Mike Trout. Mike Trout,
which I think is great.
It's incredible. You know what? Maybe one of these kids will take off and become that transcendent superstar and personality, but I'm not yet seeing it. So it's hard for me to buy into this is the golden era. Maybe it's the start of the golden era, but Stephen A., I still hark back to that summer of love in 1998, which was actually the middle of the steroid era, which we didn't know at the time, when Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire saved baseball, quote unquote, with their great home run race and chase. And that was the height of baseball as we knew it. Since then, and that was the year of chicks dig the long ball. Remember all the Nike ads? Since then, it has slowly faded. You could argue that the popularity brought on by the home run blasts and the steroid era increased the popularity of baseball.
Well, no question about it, but I look at this kid, Bryce Harper, and I think he's got a lot of potential. I think he's got the potential to sort of help elevate baseball to another level. I think this kid McCutchen in Pittsburgh he's got tremendous promise, but he's going to have to get out of the Pittsburgh market in order to pull that off. Harper's in a good market in the nation's capital.
Yep.
Kutch is going to have to get in another market outside of Pittsburgh. And by the way, it's going to have to be, when you talk about a Magic Bird comparison to some degree, they got to win, number one. And number two, they've got to ingratiate themselves with the American community. It can't be baseball being in a bubble, thinking that everybody's going to gravitate to them because they're America's national pastime. It's got to work in reverse now. It's got to be a couple of guys that are winning, that has the ability to extend themselves and reach out to the public to invite them in.
Yeah, and Stephen A., your original point was a great point. The game has gotten too long. If you want to watch a Yankee-Red Sox game, you better have 5 hours, and it's just too long, even for Yankees-Red Sox.